My beloved, come close and lend your heart to these words, for what I am about to share is not a mere superstition nor some trinket truth. No, this is spirit. This is rhythm. This is the music of faith beating against the walls of hard times and low bank accounts. This is the whisper of the ancestors echoing through the corridors of your soul, saying, "Child, trust the Lord and watch him move. My child, let us begin with the salt, not the kind you pour over your supper, not the kind they scatter on winter roads. No, I speak of a salt far older, far wiser, one kissed by the breath of the Almighty himself. This salt, simple, white, silent, holds mysteries that stretch beyond generations, beyond borders, beyond reason. It is an ancient keeper of truth. It is the silent witness to covenants made under moonlight and to prayers whispered in broken kitchens with trembling hands. This salt, yes, this salt, is a symbol of preservation, of promise, and of power. Now imagine, just for a moment, taking a pinch of that salt and slipping it into your wallet. A small act, you may think, almost foolish. But oh, beloved, in the realm of the Spirit nothing is small. God sees not just what you do, but why you do it. And a grain of salt placed in faith is louder in heaven than a mountain of gold laid in fear. You see, faith doesn't have to roar. Sometimes it is as soft as a sigh. Sometimes it is as small as a mustard seed. And sometimes it is as quiet as a woman slipping salt into her worn leather wallet, murmuring, "Lord, I trust you." Salt has been with us from the beginning. It flavored the covenant between God and his people. It preserved the meat that fed entire tribes. It was traded as wealth, weighed with reverence, treasured with care. And through every age, every empire, every exodus, salt stood firm as a witness that what God ordens no man can spoil, that what God blesses no man can curse. So when you put that salt in your wallet, you are not playing with rituals. You are stepping into alignment. You are participating in the divine. You are saying to the heavens, to the earth, and to every spirit that walks between, this house, this heart, this wallet, it belongs to God. Oh, my dear, how many times have we counted coins with worry? How many times have we folded bills like prayers, hoping they'd stretch just one day more? And how many times have we opened empty wallets and felt the hollow ache of fear? But salt, sweet, stubborn salt, refuses to let fear stay. It sits in the corner like a sentinel, declaring, provision is coming. Hold on, beloved. The Lord is near. There is something powerful in giving the ordinary over to God. The wallet, that daily carrier of our hopes, our earnings, our sacrifices, becomes holy ground. It is no longer just leather and stitching. It becomes an altar, a space where divine and daily meet. And that salt, it is the offering, not because it holds power in itself, but because it represents your faith, pure, unshaken, unyielding. And don't you know, child, that God is drawn to faith like a mother is drawn to the cry of her baby. He doesn't ignore it. He doesn't dismiss it. He leans in, he listens, he moves. And when he sees your salt, when he sees your belief, small but real, he smiles. For faith like that shakes the foundations of heaven. There is a rhythm to this life. Seasons of harvest and seasons of drought. There are moments when the cupboards overflow, and others when we must scrape together a meal from scraps and prayer. But faith is the constant. Faith is what carries you through the dark. Faith is what turns salt in a wallet into miracles on your table. Let me tell you, sugar, the world may not understand it. They may mock. They may say, it's just salt. But they know the nights you've cried. They don't know the hours you've worked. They don't know the courage it takes to believe in something you cannot yet see. So let them talk, because while they laugh, God is working. While they scoff, angels are moving. And while they doubt, blessings are drawing near. There is nothing small about faith. There is nothing silly about hope. And there is nothing ordinary about salt when it is placed in the hand of a believing heart. When you put that salt in your wallet, you're not just hoping for money. No, you're praying for peace. For the kind of peace that doesn't shake when the bills arrive. For the kind of peace that whispers, God's got this. Even when you don't, you are declaring war on worry. You are claiming joy in the face of fear. You are choosing to believe, not in luck, not in chance, but in the promise of a God who never lies. You're not just seasoning your life, you are sealing your trust, saying, Lord, you are my portion, you are my provider. I may not know how, but I know you. And child, there is no force more powerful than a soul anchored in trust. So go on, take that salt, hold it in your palm, bless it with your tears if you must. Let it soak in your intentions, your prayers, your dreams, then slip it into your wallet, not as a trick, not as a test, but as a testimony. For when you do, the very atmosphere shifts. The heavens take notice. And the God who fed thousands with a few loaves and fish, who filled empty jars with oil until debts were paid and hope was restored. That same God leans toward you and says, now watch what I will do. Salt in your wallet, faith in your heart, heaven in motion, and oh, my dear, you are about to see something glorious. Ah, beloved, let us lean in and talk softly now, for what I am about to unfold is not just knowledge, but sacred memory, the kind that lives in your bones and speaks to your soul when your eyes are closed and your heart is wide open. I want you to understand the weight and wonder of a simple act. I want you to see beyond the salt and into the spirit of the matter, because what we're really speaking of is something far more enduring. A reminder, a sacred symbol nestled quietly in the folds of your wallet, whispering louder than any shoot, God is here. God is able. God has not forgotten you. Life as you know it can be cruel in its pace and heavy in its pockets. It rushes by with demands, with debts, with unexpected disasters that shake you right down to the soles of your shoes. One moment you're soaring, and the next you're scraping, looking for peace in the couch cushions of your mind. But in the middle of that, in the midst of chaos and uncertainty, the human soul reaches out for something. Anything. That tells it. You're not alone. Help is coming. And that, my sweet soul, is where the salt comes in, a grain barely seen, a flake of white crystal, silent, humble, still, but oh, it is loud in its meaning, loud in its message. When you open your wallet, the very place that carries your wages, your identity, your dreams, and sometimes your despair, and you glimpse that salt resting there like a sleeping promise. You remember. You remember that the God who parted seas is still parting your problems. You remember that the God who rained manna from heaven is still feeding your faith. You remember that the God who poured oil into empty vessels until they overflowed is still in the blessing business, and he has not, I repeat, not forgotten your name. The salt in your wallet is not a trick. It is not a charm to wave before the universe like a spell. No, it is a memorial, a signpost, a sacred echo of what your heart already knows, but what your circumstances try to make you forget. That provision, true provision, does not come from man. It does not come from your employer, your government, your cleverness, or even your hustle. It comes from above, every time your fingers brush that salt. When you're pulling out a few bills, when you're counting coins, when you're reaching to bless someone else, that salt whispers, trust. It says, you have what you need. It sings, God is with you. And how powerful it is, my dear, to have a reminder that walks with you, tucked in your wallet, holding its ground against doubt. For doubt is a loud voice, a cruel companion that comes with unpaid bills and empty fridges and rejection letters. But salt doesn't argue. It doesn't shout. It simply stays. And its staying reminds you to keep believing. We live in a world that measures success by the thickness of a wallet and the balance of a bank account. But what if I told you that your wealth is not measured in what you carry, but in who carries you? What if I told you that the salt in your wallet is not about drawing money, but about drawing courage, drawing strength, drawing remembrance of every time God made a way out of no way? When Pharaoh closed in behind the children of Israel and the Red Sea blocked their path, it wasn't a savings account that saved them. It was a miracle. When Elijah found the widow with only a handful of flour and a little oil, it wasn't a retirement plan that fed her house for days. It was obedience. And today in your life, it won't be the numbers in your account that carry you through. It will be the faith that lives in your chest and shows up in your choices. That salt is your stand. It is your statement. It is your reminder that you are connected to something divine, something eternal, something that cannot be shaken even when the world around you trembles. And oh, how you will need that reminder, because there will be days when the phone doesn't ring, when the check doesn't come, when the bills pile high and your spirit sinks low. But on those days, open your wallet. See the salt. Touch it. Let it ground you. Let it hush your panic and stir your praise. Let it say what your soul longs to hear. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. It is a reminder that money is not your source. God is. That circumstances are not your truth. His promises are. And that even in the waiting, even in the lack, even in the silence, He is working. And isn't it just like God to use something so small to remind us of something so big? To take a grain of salt and turn it into a gospel. To take a whisper of belief and turn it into a roar of victory. My child, let your wallet be more than a place to hold paper. Let it be a sanctuary. Let it carry not just the fruit of your labor, but the evidence of your faith. Let it remind you every single day that God is not a man that He should lie, nor a promise breaker like those of this world. That salt says, I believe. It says, I expect. It says, I remember. So when the days are good, let it remind you to give thanks. And when the days are hard, let it remind you to keep standing. Because faith, when fed with remembrance, grows strong. And a heart that remembers what God has done will never doubt what He can do. So keep your salt. Keep your faith. Keep your eyes lifted and your hands open. Because the same God who blessed before will bless again. And this little reminder, tucked away in the most ordinary of places, may just be the spark that lights your miracle. Salt, my dear, simple, sacred, sure. A quiet voice in the wallet that carries the shout of heaven. Provision is near. Faith, my dear, is the most exquisite paradox. It is invisible, yet it moves the visible. It is silent, yet it roars louder than thunder. It is small, oh so very small, and yet it is the very foundation upon which mountains bow and oceans split. We are told in that sacred and ancient book that faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. And so I ask you, why not believe that a little salt, placed in reverence, with trembling hands and a hopeful heart, can move heaven to action? You see, faith is not always wrapped in sermons or clothed in church clothes. No. Sometimes faith shows up in the kitchen at midnight, when the tears won't stop falling and the bills won't stop coming. Sometimes faith is found in a whisper when all you want to do is scream. And sometimes, child, faith is found in a grain of salt, nestled in the creased leather of your wallet, doing what it does best at preserving your hope, seasoning your belief, and reminding your weary soul that God is still in control. Now let's not pretend faith is easy. It is not. It requires you to stand tall when everything around you is crumbling. It demands you speak light into darkness, to look lack in the face and say, you will not define me. Faith is bold. It is brave. It is the act of believing in what you cannot yet see but know deep down in your spirit is already on its way. That's why I say to you, placing salt in your wallet is more than symbolism. It is an act of defiant faith. You're not doing it because salt is magic. No, you're doing it because faith is. And faith, when wrapped in sincerity, when breathed through prayer, when carried through the storm, oh, it changes everything. You see, the salt you place there is not looking to perform tricks. It does not promise you riches or riches overnight. What it does promise, however, is alignment. It reminds you of who your true source is. It calls your attention back from the world's chaos to God's calm. That salt says, provision is not found in paper. It's not found in coins. It's found in trust. And, my child, trust is the currency of heaven. You see, miracles don't come to those who beg. They come to those who believe. And belief in its purest form is a decision to hold on even when you've been let down, to stand still even when the ground feels shaky, to praise even when you don't have what you need yet. That is faith. That is the spiritual muscle you build when you choose to believe that your tiny act, your salt in the wallet act, is being seen by God. Let me tell you something, sugar. God does not overlook faith, not ever. He doesn't pass over mustard seeds of belief or grains of hope. He gathers them, he stores them, and at the appointed time, he pours out blessings that are pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That little salt in your wallet, it may not shout, but it speaks. It tells your fears, you're not welcome here. It tells your doubts, be still. And it tells your heart, keep believing. And some days, that's all you need to make it through. Just one voice reminding to keep your eyes on the hills, from whence cometh your help. Let's not forget the widow of Zarephath. She had nothing, just a handful of flour and a drop of oil. And yet, because of her faith, she fed a prophet, fed her family, and watched a miracle unfold right in her kitchen. She didn't wait for abundance before she believed. She believed and abundance followed. That is what faith does. And now here you are in a different time with different tools, but the same God. You don't have flour and oil. You have a wallet and some salt, but the principle is eternal. God sees the gesture. He sees the trust. He honors the faith. So don't let the world talk you out of your miracle. Don't let logic rob you of wonder. Don't let cynicism steal your childlike belief, because faith isn't logical. Faith is divine. And when you trust with your whole heart, not just with your words, but with your actions, you make room for God to do the impossible. Faith, dear one, is the difference between sleeping through a storm and trembling through it. Faith lets you rest. Faith lets you hope. Faith allows you to lift your head high, even when your bank account is low, because you know, not hope, not wish, not wonder, but know that God is already moving, already working, already preparing a way. So yes, take that salt, lay it gently in your wallet, and when you feel worry creep in, let your fingers find it. Let your heart hear its message, I trust you, Lord, even in this. And when others ask you why, tell them, not with arrogance, not with pride, but with a quiet, holy conviction, that you believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You believe in the one who multiplies loaves and lifts burdens. You believe in miracles. You believe in promises kept. And you believe that even now, even in this moment, God is arranging things on your behalf. Oh, my child, what a beautiful thing it is, this faith, this trembling, holy, unshakable faith. The world may not see it. The world may not understand it. But heaven moves because of it. And your wallet. It just became a sacred space. Let the salt remain. Let your faith remain stronger. And just wait. Wait and see what your God will do. Child, I want you to pause right here with me. Breathe in slow. Let the rhythm of your heart catch up to the rhythm of the truth I'm about to share. Because this thing we're talking about, this act of putting salt in your wallet, it is not about superstition. No. It is about alignment. It is about calling down the presence of God into the very space where you feel the most lack. It is about inviting divine movement into your daily struggle. It is about making the ordinary holy. Now let's be honest, baby. We've all known that tight feeling in our chest when bills are due and the money doesn't add up. We've all watched paychecks come and go like the wind, never staying long enough to bring peace. We've stood in line with more need than we had coins and whispered under our breath, "Lord, make a way." So when I tell you that salt can become a spiritual act, I mean it with my whole chest, with my whole life, and with the witness of all the souls who dare to believe before you. Salt in the wallet is not a gimmick. It is a gesture of faith. It is a prayer without words. And when you make that gesture, when you take that action, something begins to shift in the atmosphere. You may not see it with your eyes, but your spirit knows. The heavens have been notified. God has been invited to sit down at the table of your need. And let me tell you something about our God. He shows up. Oh yes, he does. Not always when we want, but always when we need. He doesn't ignore the humble. He doesn't pass by the faithful. He honors those who reach for him, even in quiet ways, even with salt. You see, we think sometimes that the only way to move God is with loud prayers or perfect church attendance. But God doesn't just respond to volume. He responds to heart, and that act of putting salt in your wallet, that's heart, that's humility. That's the kind of offering that says, God, I need you more than I need money. I need your presence more than I need prosperity. I need you in every corner of my life, even in my wallet. You are not just seasoning your wallet. You are sealing it with faith. You are saying, this is no longer just a pocket of paper and plastic. This is a space where God's hand can rest. And when God's hand rests on something, child, it multiplies. It grows. It blossoms. Even the dreesed ground will bear fruit under his touch. Now listen close, because here's what most folks miss. Divine movement doesn't always look like a lottery win or a windfall. Sometimes it's the job that comes just in time. Sometimes it's the stranger who offers help. Sometimes it's that sudden peace that settles over you, even though your circumstances haven't changed yet. That's God. That's him saying, I see you. I see your salt. I see your faith. And I will answer. Faith is not about manipulating God. It's about inviting him. It's about creating room. When you put salt in your wallet, you are telling the Lord, this place is ready for you. I have prepared a space, not just for provision, but for your presence. And what a difference his presence makes. It turns scarcity into sufficiency. It turns anxiety into assurance. It turns wallets into wells, deep places where provision flows, not just from the world, but from the Spirit. I remember a time when a woman I loved, a woman who had known both poverty and promise, told me, I keep a grain of salt in my wallet, not to get rich, but to remind myself I'm already blessed, because God is with me. And child, she was right. She walked in peace that money couldn't buy. She gave when she barely had enough. And somehow, some way, her needs were always met. That's what happens when God moves. When God moves, doors open that man has locked. When God moves, favor finds you like sunlight in the morning. When God moves, what was once too little becomes more than enough. But you've got to make room. You've got to show your faith, not just in songs, not just in words, but in action. And sometimes that action is as small and sacred as a pinch of salt in a pocket where you need him most. So I ask you, what would happen if you treated your wallet like holy ground? What would shift if you looked at every purchase, every blessing, every dollar not as something earned, but as something entrusted? What if, instead of worry, you chose worship? Child, let your wallet preach. Let it tell the story of a God who shows up. Let it become a testimony in leather and lint. Let it say, I trusted God, and he did not fail me. That's what divine movement looks like. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it is real. It is true. It is steady. And it always leaves behind the fragrance of grace. Now go on. Let that salt rest there. Let your faith rest there too. Every time you touch it, say a prayer. Every time you see it, speak life. Every time you feel fear rise up, declare, my God shall supply all my needs according to his riches in glory. And watch, my love. Just watch what happens next. Because when you mix faith with even the smallest gesture, when you dare to believe that God can move in your money, in your wallet, in your world, the winds begin to shift, heaven begins to lean in, and your life, it will never be the same again. Now hush, baby. Just hush that noise in your spirit, that wild spinning of thoughts, that clattering worry, that ache that's been sitting in your chest like a stone too heavy to lift. Yes, hush it, because I want to hear something deeper than words, something sacred, something sure. I want you to hear this truth. You are not meant for lack. You were not born to merely survive. You were not created to just get by. You were fashioned in the image of the divine, and God does not create waste. He does not create despair. He creates purpose. He creates power. And he created you for more. There is something about the weight of poverty, both the kind that sits in your wallet and the kind that nests in your soul. It gnaws. It tells you lies. It whispers things like, you'll never have enough. Or you're always behind. Or worse, you don't deserve to prosper. And if you're not careful, if you're not rooted, you'll start to believe it. You'll start walking like you're unworthy, living like you're invisible, hoping only halfway. But oh, child, let me tell you, that's not your story. That's not your destiny. You are a royal soul navigating a hard world. But your Father is the King of all things seen and unseen. And while this world may count you out, heaven has already counted you in. So when I say put that salt in your wallet and lift your head high, I mean it with every sacred syllable in my bones. I mean it because I know what it's like to be down to nothing but still trust God for everything. There is strength in your survival. There is beauty in your belief. You are not foolish to hope. You are not silly to trust. In fact, it takes bravery to believe in abundance when all you've known is lack. It takes courage to plant seeds of faith in soil that looks dry. But oh, when you do, when you dare to believe that you were created for more than struggling and stretching and scraping, the heavens respond. That salt in your wallet, that is your line in the sand. That is your declaration to every demon of doubt, every generational curse, every spirit of limitation that you will no longer bow. You are not a beggar. You are not a burden. You are a child of God, and you walk in the authority of heaven's favor. Now, let's not get it twisted. This ain't about prosperity in the way the world defines it. This ain't about gold watches or fast cars or showing off what you got. No, darling. This is about the abundance of peace, the wealth of joy, the richness of faith. This is about waking up and knowing you're already enough. It's about knowing that when you carry salt in your wallet, you carry a symbol of preservation, purity, and purpose. Salt keeps things from spoiling. It keeps things fresh. And when you place it in your wallet, in that place of financial fear or frustration, you're doing more than just holding on to tradition. You're making a holy statement. I expect goodness. I expect provision. I expect God to show up. And here's the truth, my love. God will show up. He always has. He showed up for the Israelites in the wilderness with bread from heaven. He showed up for the widow in famine with a jar that wouldn't run dry. He showed up in a manger when the world least expected a king. And he'll show up for you too, right on time every time. But you've got to believe it. You've got to stop shrinking yourself. Stop talking yourself out of blessings because someone told you blessings weren't meant for folks like you. Stop rehearsing lies the world taught you about your worth. You are not cursed. You are not behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You, my dear, are divine, handcrafted and heaven-backed. And when you step into that truth, when you carry salt not just in your wallet, but in your spirit, you begin to walk like someone who expects miracles. You speak like someone who knows the value of her own voice. You live like someone who is no longer afraid of the future. I want that for you. I want you to wake up with expectancy in your bones. I want you to touch your wallet and feel peace instead of panic. I want you to understand that lack is not your legacy, that fear is not your inheritance, that scarcity is not your name. God has more for you, more than sleepless nights and overdraft fees, more than choosing between groceries and gas, more than hoping someone else will rescue you. He has strength for you. He has strategy for you. He has favor for you. But you've got to open your hands. You've got to open your mouth. And sometimes, yes, sometimes, you've got to open your wallet, not to spend, but to believe. That salt in there, it's not superstition. It's faith. It's sacred resistance against a world that told you to settle. And baby, you were not made to settle. You were made to soar. So go on and be bold with your belief. Let that salt be your signpost. Let your lack become a testimony. Let your fear become fuel. Because the moment you stop walking in the lie of limitation and start walking in the truth of divine provision, everything changes. Not just around you, but within you. And that's where true abundance begins, side. So carry that salt. Carry it with reverence. Carry it like a woman who knows her God is bigger than her bills, stronger than her situation, and faithful beyond her imagination. And when people ask why you do it, why you believe in something so simple, smile and say, because I know the God I serve, and I know He's not finished blessing me yet. Yes, baby, watch what He does next.